welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back again for another review, another episode of The Real Housewives of Miami, Season 6, Episode 12, and this is called Sink or Swim. And Miami just continues to bring it, okay? There has been no sleeper, no chilled episodes. It's always on go with these ladies, and I am loving it. Everything's enjoyable. Everything's different. Everything's just like a vibe. And even the scenes are kind of just lackluster. They're not really lackluster. There's still some mean potatoes there. I mean, this is all I gotta say about it. It's just been given when these be gave. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the review. So it starts with a Real Housewives montage where we have Larsa and Sophia about to do a TikTok dance together because we saw in the last episode Sophia was in town for a little bit. And then next they show Lisa struggling to pump gas in the ring. And child, I've never been to Florida, but I imagine with them being so close to like the Gulf and like the ocean, that when it rains and it's also kind of a swampy area, I just know from like when I was in like Savannah, raining in those kind of areas is different. It's not. It always feels like things are about to flood, and it kind of was giving that. So I don't, child. But anyway, I digress. And then the next scene, then the actual true first scene is actually Julia meeting up with Shan Team, which is the I guess the swimming wear company she's going to be modeling for. That's the name, Shan, and the designer. They get fit, so she's getting fitted basically for swim week and walking the runway. Both Kiki and Julia mentioned they both were going to be modeling for swim week, and this episode is just that, is swim week. And we find out that Julia was discovered at the same modeling agency as Kate Moss, the legendary Kate Moss. For those who are really, really young, she was the it girl in like, I would say like the mid 90s. I'm not going to say what she was known for, but she was known as being really, really thin. It's a little, yeah. Google her. She's her. And also, too, she was kind of even there around the same time while she was still there. Now, mind you, Kate Moss was discovered in the 90s. Julia isn't that. I don't think she's the same age as Kate Moss. I think she's actually younger. But anyway, so they show old photos, though, of Julia while she was still an active model. And Julia was giving what needed to be gave. I mean, she was giving, to me, younger pictures of Julia kind of reminds me of, now this is a real callback, but those who've seen the movie, you would probably know, but you don't really, she kind of reminds me of like a young Gia. And Gia was a legendary supermodel gone before her time in the early 80s. So even before my time. I did my research after the fact, after the movie came out, because fascinating. But anyway, she kind of does give that look. Like she had short hair, kind of like androgynous, which, child, it's a callback because remember the couple episodes that I mentioned when Julia does that androgynous look? I'm into it. I now understand why I'm into it, because they were showing younger pictures of her doing just that, and that Julia gives what needs to be gave when she's on her androgyny. She's just beautiful. But anyway, so they're showing old pictures of her then, and then we also see her trying on the modeling suits and practicing her walk. And she still got it, clearly. And she's practicing before, so like the show's the next day. But she also finds out, though, towards the end of this scene that she actually will be closing the show as well. which is a huge deal because she's never even done that when she was active as a model. So this is like really, really big for her. And also, too, the reason why she decides she's going to do this, I forgot to mention, is because she put her life on hold when Martina had the second go around when it came to cancer. And especially now with Gertie going through it now again, she's like, she just doesn't want to live with any regrets. So she put her career on hold. She did a lot of that stuff. So now she wants to get back to it. And also, too, she wanted to kind of highlight that this day and age, which is very true, modeling is a lot more diverse when it comes to like your sizes, age, and things like that. Back in the past, it wasn't always like that. It was like you either were a regular model or you were plus size. Like even when I was like in modeling school, oh, side note, I used to actually be modeling school. I didn't know. I just kind of gave up because I was already a big girl and I just didn't want to be a plus size model. But now the way things are and the way fashions are fashioning, it would have been great. So I kind of do have like things like, I kind of have a little bit of regret. Like, man, maybe I should have pursued a modeling career. I don't know, but it was very early in my life. This is like probably when I was like in 6th grade. I was at a modeling agency for a little bit. But anyway, I digress. This kind of also explains why I really love this episode, by the way, because it was very much about modeling, something I used to do, and was into, and just like, love it. But anyway, and next we do see Kiki meeting up with one of her fashion producers and the designers, and she's also getting fit for Swim Week too, because we already mentioned Julia. Besides Julia, I'm doing Swim Week. Kiki's doing it. But Kiki is still kind of that modeling age, and she still is an active model. She didn't really stop. But so this was her way of kind of going back to the beginning, because Swim Week is how Kiki got started. And we find out more in this scene that she was always like a tall, slender girl from Haiti. And then when she moved to the States, to Miami, modeling just kind of literally fell in her lap. Like it was kind of a thing and everyone told her she should do that anyway, because she already kind of looked the part. And she loved it. She really loved it, and she pursued it right away. But her family, I guess being super religious, particularly her stepmom, wanted her to model, but like under conditions. And this is the thing though, with modeling, you don't get to choose what you wear, especially earlier on in your career. Whatever they want you to wear, that's what you're going to wear. So she sometimes would be wearing risque clothes. And because she comes from that very religious background, this actually ended up getting her kicked out of her house at the age of 15. So from the age of 15, she was kind of on her own. Kind of couch surfing and staying at friends' house. And then she also had like a side job working at Burger King, which, side note, that's actually a callback to the last season when we met Kiki and she got mad and she brought some Burger King and she left. I understand why she loves Burger King now. She used to work there. Not funny, but like it's kind of like just like it's weird how that ties together. I'm laughing more at the fact that it tied together. But anyway, so besides that though, she kind of gets emotional talking about it because, she got kicked out of her house for basically trying to follow her dreams. But she pursued it. She hustled. She struggled. She did what she needed to do, and she soldiered on. And we also see older photographs of her too, but they're not as much older because Julia's pictures, by the way, are from like 25 years ago. Like they're older. Kiki's is a little bit more recent, not as dated. So Kiki overall still looks pretty much the same. Just, she looked like probably, I think, in both pictures, they probably maybe were in their late teens, early 20s type thing. So not much body fat for obvious reasons because they're younger. that kind of thing. But anyway, so um this was a nice scene because we did get to learn more about Kiki and we saw a little bit more of her vulnerable side. Because for most of the show so far, she's almost always been like more the comedy relief, but not really knowing much about her. And y'all already know I'm a huge Kiki fan, so the more we get to know about her, the better. Next, we do see Gertie going to lunch with Russell. And this is, Gertie's not in a good place. She's struggling to have faith, struggling to keep up a positive front. And, she doesn't want to think about the cancer, but she kind of has to because she has to go back in for this surgery. We find out on the last episode that they didn't get everything. She has to go back for this second surgery. And she's just like not in a good place about it. And Russell kind of commented like, hey, you're in the house and you're watching Soprano movies. Like you're watching The Sopranos. That's really depressing. She's like, I just want to be depressed. She's like, I don't want to be happy because I'm not. And she's saying she doesn't want to think about it, but Russell's like, I'm sorry, but you do have to think about it. It is something that you need to think of the worst case scenarios. I know it's not good for your spirit, but at the same time, you need to be able to plan just in case this does happen. And because they do find out that this cancer is very invasive. At first, they thought it was nothing and they were going to, simple little surgery and it was going to be done and over with. But unfortunately, that's not the cards that are being dealt. It's an invasive cancer. So yeah. And it was a sad scene, but it was very real. And I am appreciating that we're seeing her whole entire journey of, what's happening here. And I love that it's not all the show, even though it's important for us to know about it. It's a nice mix. I'll just say that. That's one of the reasons why I just love Miami and this franchise and what they've been doing. They've been doing their thing. I can't say anything else more positive, but anyway. So next we see Lisa house hunting with Jody. Jody, and I think Lisa mentioned this before, but I was under the impression with this scene, Jody is just there to like help her out. This is just still gonna be Lisa's home. But anyway, I was happy when I saw this scene because y'all already know I love Real Housewives of Miami meets HGTV. So guess what? We got to do another tour. Y'all know I'm a sucker for a house tour. And this house was huge. It was huge. It still wasn't as big as her house she's in now, or at the time, but it's still a big house. And we find out that the asking price for the house is almost $6 million, which that sounds crazy, but considering she's on this show and also they're in Miami, so the price is going to be up. It's not that surprising because I think they're also looking at a 5-bedroom home, so it actually makes sense. But and also too, compared to what she was looking at before, it was actually way more reasonably priced. And but her realtor does ask if this is reasonable and if it's going to be a cash offer or is she going to be doing a mortgage. And she says she doesn't know because this is based upon whatever Lenny agrees on for the settlement agreement. And this just leads to the whole entire talking about the Lenny of it all. But Jody's joining in on the fun and also chiming in on it too because he was equally as annoyed because I think he was there. I'm pretty sure he was there doing all this stuff as a kind of a moral support. So in Lisa's words, she's basically saying that Lenny is dangling a carrot. They almost came to an agreement where she was able to basically be able to move forward a little bit with her life as far as getting her money or getting enough money to basically get out of the house and do something else. But they were in a good space and then they weren't. And so, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about this scene because it was a lot of Lenny bashing because you already know. And y'all know I'm exhausted when it comes to all that. So there's that's pretty much where the scene concluded. By the way, Lenny is still Basula. I haven't said that in a couple episodes, but it's also because Lisa's been getting on my nerves a little too much for me to say it. But he's still trash. Throw him in the garbage. Anyway, so now we fast forward to the next day, and it's the day of the runway show. Julia's runway show was up first since a daytime runway show. And one thing I didn't know, and now I'm like really kind of wanting to do this. I don't know if it costs money to do that kind of stuff. I'm assuming it does. And I'm assuming you have to be invited. But we see when they're doing this swim week, it's all like kind of all in the same vicinity. So you're going from like place to place, like walking distance wise, to like go from one fashion show to the other. And wow, I'm impressed. I've never been to a fashion show, and other than the one that I walked in myself, but and that was low budget. It was not anything like this. Again, this is during my earlier years of trying to pursue being a model. But yeah, I am intrigued. Anyway, so she's getting ready. She FaceTimes Martina and her daughter Emma, and she does state that she wants in the future for her and her daughter to walk on the runway together. And she shows them the backstage, and Julie is just super excited. So yeah, that's kind of all that happens there. Back towards the front and on the backstage, we see that Dr. Nicole, Gertie, Kiki, and Adriana meet up. Dr. Nicole has a bone to pick with Adriana because we found out that Julia did actually share with Dr. Nicole the reason why Anna was invited to the brunch. She's like, look, this is why. And so yeah, Dr. Nicole is truly upset. She's like, I did not know anything about this. Like, and now I really feel like, now I understand why they're upset, because they really were getting set up. It's just, I wasn't the one who was doing it. So yeah. Anyway, Kiki called this completely and said, so you mean to tell me Dr. Nicole really didn't know? And Adriana's like, no, she didn't know. And so she's like, okay, so you're going to have to explain that. You need to clear that up. And as she says that, enters Marisol and Alexia. And then we go to commercial break. Okay, so we're back from commercial break. And then we agree, they all agree. Really, Alexia is the one who kind of initiates it and says like, hey, let's not talk about this right now. We're here to support Julia. Because they're all basically getting drinks before the show. And so let's not talk about it. And then Marisol shades Dr. Nicole in her confessional, kind of stating, because as Dr. Nicole greets the lady, she gives them a hug, but she's like, hey, things are going to be resolved soon. My name will be cleared soon. And so that's when we see Marisol saying that shady comment, saying like, yeah, it's your truth and then the actual truth. And it's like, Marisol is giving reach. I need you to stop this. It's getting old. It's getting stale. I'm not into it. I don't like the bullying of it all. Leave Dr. Nicole alone. Like, seriously. But anyway, so we do get to the show. They're actually right in front of the runway. And also, side note, where was Larsa and Lisa? I was kind of irritated that they weren't there for Julia. Particularly Lisa. Because Larsa, I'm sorry, I'm going to give her maybe a little bit of grace. Mainly because what she did later on in this episode. But I'm giving Larsa grace because Larsa probably did really legitimately have something to do. But Lisa, I'm getting sick of you being late for everything. I'm getting sick of it. I am over it. Learn how to manage your time. As someone who, like, and I can't talk because lately my time management has sucked, but I like beat myself up whenever I'm like that. Prior to 2020, I was always like an earlier on time kind of girl. And somewhere after that, something switched, and I've been trying to bring the old girl back. But anyway, that's a side note. But It's just like, where are they? But anyway, so we see Julia do it. She walks through the runway twice and she did it. She did it. She killed it. She looked amazing. And then we find out, okay, Kiki's up next. But Kiki's show is in the evening. So they have time to like kind of reconvene. And Julia Julia has time to like join them, like get changed and join them. So that's where we're at next here. So right away, as they go to get drinks, they're outside. Marisol just is like, hey, okay, the elephant's in the room, let's address it. What's up? And immediately they get into it because Dr. Nicole explains one more time she has nothing to do with it. Because now at least they're not yelling at her and she can explain herself. And Marisol and Alexia, they're dying on this hill. And both Gertie and I literally have the same look on her face. We're just like... And they're seriously just being mean girls at this point. It's because they refuse to believe that Dr. Nicole did not set this up after Adriana again stated that she had nothing to do with it. And then Adriana even explained what the purpose was and everything. Like, Adriana explained the whole entire plan in front of the whole entire group. And she still was not believing it. Well, actually, she didn't explain that yet. Hold on. Rewind. Adriana did explain one more time that she really had nothing to do with it. She didn't go into detail yet. She will in a moment, but she didn't yet. And they're going back and forth. And Lisa arrives while all this is happening. And I already stated I'm annoyed by Lisa always being late. But anyway... And then Larsa, along with her friend Zara, and Zara, I think, was in that episode where she literally told the whole entire world that Gertie had cancer. They both arrived there. And I never thought I would say this. But thank you, Larsa. Thank you, Larsa. So Larsa stops them from fighting. And she just straight up like asks in the middle of them fighting, like, Adriana, what was Anna going to say? Like, why was she invited? What was she going to say? And then this is when Adriana states why she invited her and what she was going to say, talking about Alexia's finances and all that stuff. And she wanted that to be there because of the way that they treated Lisa at Palm Beach. And finally, the attention shifts to the correct person, which is Adriana. Lisa is low-key... While all this is happening, Lisa has this grin on his face. She's like... And then in the confessionals, the producers ask her, like, how do you feel about what just happened here? She's like, oh, I low-key love it. It's like, oh, you did this for me? You did all that for me? So she was loving it. She's like... Anyone who says that they don't like mess, they lying a little bit, which that's kind of true. I don't like mess being in my own life, but I love watching some mess now. Catch that? Anyway. So, Dr. Nicole, though, is finally vindicated. Finally. And... But the problem is with her being finally vindicated, she does ask right before she leaves because we find out that she got tickets to Stanley Cup prior to her knowing that Kiki was going to walk, so she wasn't going to be able to go. And so she's like, before I leave, do y'all now believe that I had nothing to do with it? And they're like, yes, we believe you didn't have anything to do with it. And so Alexia doesn't really apologizes, but she gives her a hug. And then Marisol didn't apologize at all, really, but gave her a hug. But at the end of the day, Marisol and Alexia probably think that, okay, everything's resolved. But Dr. Nicole's over it. She's like, I am so done with these ladies, like, because of what she said last episode. She's sick of always feeling like she has to prove herself, which she's not even lying. That has been the trend ever since the reboot. They expect the worst out of her, and she always has to prove herself, particularly with them two. And while this is happening in her confessional, Adriana states that Alexia is completely jealous of Dr. Nicole, which, duh, that's so obvious. I didn't know, we didn't really need Adriana to say that, but I love she said it in confessional. And by the way, Adriana confessionals and the way she's been looking this season, I kind of have a crush on her. She's been looking good, like a Brazilian queen. Yes. Anyway, but she states also too, it's like she names all of Dr. Nicole's accolades. Like she has her own money, her man has his own money, the money's long, they own properties, not renting. She's young, beautiful, Cuban. She's a true Cuban doll. And Alexia is no longer the Cuban doll, and she can't take it. And I'm like, ooh, that's a read, and she ain't lying. I'm sorry. But this makes me think, I'm wondering, because Adriana is a really, really smart girl. Like, seriously. Like, she speaks, like, I think, 5 different languages. I think 4 or 5 different languages. And, you know, she plays the piano. She plays multiple instruments. Like, the girl is smart. So I'm wondering if Adriana did this kind of for multiple reasons. Because number one, we know she kind of doesn't really see it for Alexia. I mean, she clearly doesn't. Number two, she didn't like how Alexia treated Lisa. But number three, I think she wanted to expose Alexia's fake newfound appreciation and friendship of Dr. Nicole. And just basically kind of show like, she ain't really your friend. I'm wondering if that was the other reason why she did all this. Because one thing about Adriana, even though she has her moments of being annoying and being team too much, she's usually messy for kind of a moral purpose in a way. It's never just cause. There's always a reason, but like a moral reason. Like she's, I don't know. To me, I feel like Adriana exudes like kindness, lovingness, amazing things. So I feel like she won't come after someone unless she feels like justice needs to be served. I don't know. Hold on. I'm not gonna lie. Hold up. I gotta look up Adriana's sign. Because I'm sick. Child, this makes all the sense in the world. She's a damn Sagittarius. I knew there was a reason why I really liked her. This makes all the sense in the world. Shout out to all my favorite Sagittarius people, and one of y'all know who you are. I hung out with you last weekend. You should catch it. Child, this explains everything. Anyway, this is why she's so lovable, though. That also explains why she's so lovable, too. Alright, so next we have Kiki's event. It starts, and child, she did that. Also, side note, neither of the ladies, when they walked, were wearing anything super revealing. Everyone else was like wearing like major swimsuits and showing the skin. But with Kiki, it's extra funny because her normal clothes is super revealing, but then on the runway, she was covered up. It's kind of funny. But anyway, I was happy for Kiki. She was so happy with herself as well. And you could tell she was just exuding positive energy and just happy. And she does say in confessional that her and her dad now are doing okay, but she still no longer she still doesn't talk to like her stepmom after kicking her out. But she's very emotional and confessional and what she's overcome. And also to this episode, it makes me understand why Kiki feels a way when people aren't there for her. And unfortunately, we see it happen again to her even in this episode. But remember earlier in the season when she felt kind of abandoned by Larsa because Larsa now has this relationship with Marcus. This her telling her backstory explains why, and I hope there's some type of reconciliation as a result of this with Larsa, and hopefully Larsa can like soften up and realize this is why Kiki has been feeling away. But anyway, and so next is party time, right? Well, wrong. So they all head into the Sprinter. Marisol is the first to bail right away. She states she has pain in her stomach, so she's leaving. But then everyone's trying to get out of this parking of the area because, you know, that was the closing show of Swim Week. So everyone's trying to get out and like they're stuck in traffic. And so one by one, the ladies start to leave because they're just like annoyed with waiting. And so she starts getting super, super upset. But like, not like, she's like upset because she's like, we found out the last episode, this after party was an after party she was throwing for the ladies. It's not for everyone. She's throwing it literally for ladies. This was supposed to be really Kiki's first like event outside of like the show. And they all bailed minus Adriana, Julia, and Kiki. They were the only, so basically Adriana and Julia were the only ones that stayed. So it was kind of messed up. Gertie, we kind of understood why she wasn't going to stay. So I don't think Kiki has that energy for Gertie all the way because, you know, the obvious. But the other ladies, though, I feel like it's going to get addressed. I hope it does because they did her wrong. That was kind of messed up. None of them really had a reason to really go like that other than really Gertie. Next, we have this scene with Alexia and Julia and at Julia's farm. So Alexia comes to Julia's farm wearing overalls and child, she's totally out of her element. And I hate to say this, but I love that they're trying to be friends, but I feel like they're trying to be friends more or less for the show and not actually, because it just feels really forced. Especially this scene at least felt forced. I'm not gonna lie. This scene especially. The other times it hasn't seemed as forced, but this was the first time I'm just like, y'all need to film together for a reason to like make the trip announcement. Cause side note, another cast trip's about to happen, which I'm so happy because that is when the Housewives are at their best, typically. When they have an amazing cast trip. So, basically they recap Julia's show. Alexi's giving her flowers, like, wow, you did that. That's amazing. Julia explains why, you know, story that I mentioned earlier, but just to Alexia. But then Alexia states she wants to plan another girls' trip, but this time to Mexico City. And it'll be during Pride weekend, and that is during or around Julia's birthday. So, but she also wants to see Saint Guadalupe. And I'm sorry if Guadalupe. I think the saint's name is Guadalupe, and I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. I don't follow the Catholic saints like that, so I don't know. Especially any of the Catholicism saints that are Latin based, because I know there are tons of saints that I am not aware of. But anyway, Alexia does open up and state that this is mainly the saint that she has prayed, used to help with her faith. And also the main saint that she would turn to for guidance for after Frankie's accident occurred. and she doesn't think she would have been able to get through without her. So she wants to visit this saint at the church as well. And she also states that she wants to bring Gertie to that saint to help her, get through the cancer. And they do proceed to talk about Gertie a little bit more and wanting her to have more hope for her to beat it. And we forget here, and I'll mention it a little bit later, but I will say this for me. I forget that Alexia and Gertie were really, really close friends especially the first season of the reboot. They were really, really close friends, but they're actually really, really close friends in real life. And I believe that's actually how Gertie even became part of the show, was because of Alexia. So we're going to see a little bit more of it in the following scene later on. But it was nice to see Alexia having a little bit more of a softer side, if you will. And I think Julia also resonated with that. She even said towards the end of the scene, why did we try this last year? Trying to be friends, basically. Okay, so next scene is Larsa and Marcus, and they're about to do their podcast as Alexia FaceTimes them. Alexia does then invite her to Mexico City. We find out here that Larsa actually has tequila that is manufactured there. And she wants the ladies to go to a tasting down there. So they're going to add that to the itinerary, clearly. And this is the part that I'm a little confused by is, am I missing something? When did we find out that Larsa has a tequila? Am I missing something? Put in the comments if we knew about that already. But if not, why are we just now finding out about this? I think that would have been something interesting to follow on the show. I mean, we knew about Larsa's necklaces and some of her other businesses in the OnlyFans with the feet, but I don't remember them ever mentioning anything about tequila. But anyway, so they hang up a phone with Alexia and they resume filming their podcast. They talk age gaps. And then they also talk about kids. And she mentions that she actually did get her eggs frozen after she went with Kourtney Kardashian to do the same thing. So she has 11 eggs just in storage. And they do pan back to not quite the face we see today, but not the face from season 1 of Real Housewives of Miami. It was in the middle face of Larsa with the Kardashians on season 2 of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. They actually show her there, but yeah. Anyway, they talk about kids. You know how I feel about Marcus and Larsa business relationship. I can't, and maybe they can prove me wrong. And if they do, that's cool. That's great. But I'm sorry, especially because Marcus is so awkward on camera. He's so awkward. So awkward. Anyway. So Gertie, Liam, her younger son, and Russell are playing a card game together while she's bedside. And we find out, and she does state this to Alexia, because Alexia does FaceTime her while this is happening. And she had her second surgery. And she's currently recovering. And she's providing a status of what the next steps are, what's going on right now with Alexia. And I shared this earlier on, when Alexia was talking to Julia about Gertie. This is why I've been wanting to see this whole entire season, that I'm seeing one by one, there's a slow build that everyone is starting to slowly, finally rally around Gertie and what she's going through, because she's literally fighting for her life. And to see Alexia turn off that hard exterior and be like a friend. Loved it. So, and also too, this scene was super educational because I have never been so closely involved with anyone where they're going through this. So I love that Gertie, even through her vulnerability and literally wanting to fall apart, is educating us on how it sometimes goes. So we find out that they did run a test on the first set of the things, you know, the tumor that they had out there. And the numbers, she scored 29 out of 100. So right away, Alexia's like, oh, that's great. That's good. That's like less than shit. And then the Gertie's like, no, it's not. And I thought the same thing too, because even how they were talking where you could like kind of think the same thing as like Alexia. And she's like, no. 25 and under is ideal. But she's like, but that's still no. Because I am over that, chemo has to happen. So we find out that she has to do chemo. So as she's saying this and explaining all this, she is getting super emotional. She's still holding it together, but like she's definitely getting super emotional. And wow. And Alexia is just there trying to do her best to comfort her via FaceTime because that's really all she could do. But this was good to see though. And again, pretty educational because I would have thought the same thing as Alexia, thinking, okay, so borderline's not enough. If you're borderline, chemo. And the fact that because she had to do the second surgery, that probably is also not helping. Yeah. I feel for her. These things are so hard to watch, but they're very educational. So I do appreciate them. So then kind of the final scene, kind of not. Adriana is at the studio about to drop some beats with Emilio Esteban and her vocal coach. And she's sounding good. And looking good. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like I'm having a girl crush on Adriana and the way she's been looking. Her skin's been looking amazing. The body is body-yaddying. And even like Emilio's like, you look good. She's like, I want to look like a star. She's like, you do. I was like, yeah. But anyway, so she finishes the session and she does inform them that she is going to Mexico for a girls' trip. And Emilio asks if she's interested in performing while she's down there. And she's like, and states he could set something up. She wants to do that. And she's like, oh my gosh, yes. And she's like, well, I don't have really that many songs prepared. Will I be just doing Fire? She's like, yeah, Fire will be the one for you. That'll be the one. Which, for those who didn't know, because I didn't do it at the beginning, this is the reason why I didn't do it. Miami's hot, 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 fire. Miami's hot, 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 fire. That song. So that's where kind of the episode ends, but actually gives you within the episode a preview of what is about to happen and go down next week. So a week later, it shows that she's actually getting ready to perform that said song in Mexico City during Pride weekend, wearing kind of the carnivalish looking outfit, looking amazing, looking like $1,000,000, getting nervous. And then the producers do that rewind thing that they've been doing, and they show all of the ladies are arriving to Mexico City, including Gertie. So I was happy to see that because towards the end of Gertie, I forgot to mention this, towards the end of Gertie and Alexia's conversation, Alexia did still invite her to Mexico City, but it was kind of like weird because she was like, I don't want to ask you this now because she just shared everything that happened. But the reason why I called was for this. And Gertie's like, I'll try to make it out. we see she made it out. So she's gonna be there. So that's great news. But child, the preview for next week is gonna be messy. There's some fights. We see that Kiki's activated again. I think multiple people made her mad. Larsa somehow is mad at Alexia, and I don't know how or why. It's looking good. Miami's about to get hotter. They were already south, but they're going a little bit further, south. Anyway, that does conclude the review. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye. Miami's hot, 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 hot fire.